Hello, this is Robert Fuchs, and our topic for today is Beware of the Coming Guest Worker Program. As somebody who's been dealing with immigrants and immigration for close to 35 years, I see how things are shaping up right now in our country. I see that there's a shortage of workers, as I've discussed in the past. I see that immigrants are being returned at the border, and many people are trying to get into this country because they're fleeing persecution from their home country. So the need for workers and the amount of people who want to enter the country, but there is no way for them to enter legally, is forcing things to take shape in a manner that I believe will be detrimental. Instead of trying to do an immigration reform where we would fix the immigration laws and legalize the status of people here who are here undocumented, I believe that the government will try to do a guest worker program. They've done this in the past. They've done it for the Bracero program back in 1940s, and they will try to use such a step again once they realize that the shortage of workers is going to get a lot worse. Uh, when I originally got involved with immigration reform, uh, they predicted that around 2030 things would really be bad, that most of baby boomers would be retired. And the areas where there's the greatest concern is construction, the restaurant area, the nursing and healthcare. There's a lot of concern in these areas, and also skilled workers, is because the biggest amount of people retiring are in these areas. And I think COVID pushed that problem way ahead of the 2030 problem. So now we're already facing this shortage of workers, and and we have to plan uh, ahead of time to try to force Congress to create laws that will do immigration reform. When I got involved with immigration reform, I was the architect of an immigration reform proposal called the Freedom Act, and there we planned on getting people to come into the country legally, not through the border, by creating something called temporary residence. It would allow people to be sponsored through work, and then eventually they could either continue under temporary residence or they could become residents, switch from temporary to permanent residence by working a certain amount of time, staying out of criminal problems, and contributing to this country. Um, and unfortunately, what my concern is that it will be shifting to a guest worker program where people don't have rights to defend themselves at work. Uh, uh, Employers abuse them. They don't have a future if they decide they want to remain here. There's no way for them to adjust from a guest worker program into a residency type uh, petition. So there's a lot of problems with a guest worker program, but not only for the immigrant, but also for our nation. We want people to invest in this country. We want people uh, to see a future for themselves, uh, buy homes, travel back and forth, have their children raised here. So, I'm concerned about having a guest worker program because it's not a positive investment for our future, and it doesn't really help immigrants. So I think that the effort has to be made by the community, by leaders of groups that represent immigrants, that they have to try to cut that off and try to create an immigration reform. Unfortunately, right now in Congress, there's very little hope of that. But as things get more desperate, we have to be ready to push for a temporary resident that can switch over to permanent residence instead of looking for a guest worker, where it's a lot of extra work and there's no benefit either to the country or to the immigrant. Thank you very much. Have a good day.